this pen, this 005, is the best 005 I've ever used. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It, where I go around the world and the internet looking for art supplies to make your journey just a little bit easier. Now, today we are actually getting away from my favorite thing, which is markers, and we're going to try and move into something that I'm less known for, which is inking, and we're going to do some inking supplies. But one thing that we are going to do, we're going to do the familiar brand of Kingart. Right, we are a big fan of Kingart here on this channel, and they have released a 10-piece black set, so different sizes, nibs, and brushes. And so we're going to try these out, and hopefully for the whopping $12.99 that this cost at Michael's, I am hoping that this is going to be absolutely worth it. But there is only one way to find out, and that is to try it. So come on, let's see if they're worth it. Alright, so as you can see, Kingart is known for its like chipboard and plastic that goes over, but I do like this little introduction here. It's like here you get a point, oh wow, so it's a 005, 01, 02, 03, 05, a 08, a brush, a 3 millimeter chisel, a medium fine point, and a large fine point. These are all brushes. I'm really curious to see if these are the flex nibs or if they're actually just brushes. But, you know, you get 10 markers, or 10 fine liners. They seem to be, you know, normal. Nothing real special as far as, you know, anything different from most normal fine liners, but we are going to try and figure out if they're worth it. The big thing that they say is that it's got a no skip, no smear, no smudge ink. Lends professional quality to all of your work. So I'm really interested to see about that. Crisp, clear lines, archival ink, permanent, won't smear, won't smudge. All right, crack it open. All right, get that over there. Okay, so. Oh, well, they feel pretty plastic. So the plastic itself, right, like it's sturdy, like you can really feel it. But if you've ever felt a pen that feels like it was made out of cheap plastic, then this is kind of what it's very slick, it's very light, just feels like it's cheap. And the weird thing is that you don't normally get that from Kingart, right? Like they do some good quality stuff, but I think what they did is they actually put all their money into the actual design, because if you see that cap, right, it actually shows you the nib, so you can actually grab these and see exactly what you're going to be getting into. That is an awesome feature. I mean, even though it has the number and what it is on the pen, generally when you grab your pen, right, you grab it like this and you can see instantly, oh, that's the thick brush, that's not what I wanted, and you're like, oh well, that's the itty bitty brush. So you can actually grab these really fast and see that what the nib is, and I think that is an interesting design. That's really cool. So like I said, it really makes up for me. It really makes up for the plastic feel, because it has such an interesting design on it. So that's really cool. Oh, wow, look at that brush. That's a pretty big brush. All right, but we're gonna go through all of the nibs as we use them, but they do post, right? Post's good. Sticks. Let's see if it's got a snap. Ooh, nice snap. Something we come used to with Kingart stuff, so it's got a nice snap. I mean, itself, it's not too small, which I really like. So, and I have fairly big hands, so having a pen that actually isn't too small, like I've had some that stop around here, so it's really small in my hand, and the width of it isn't too big and it's not too small. So all in all, the pen itself, like the structure of it, is actually pretty good. It's just you got to get used to the feel of that really slick plastic. Alright, so as normal, we're going to be using just a Bristol, regular Bristol Smooth 300 series. right? Go. And we're gonna go from smallest to the biggest brush. We're gonna go from that. I am not a big fan of these 0.0 or 0.05s and 0.1s. I firmly believe you really only need a 0.5, but I know that there are people who do way more finer detail work than I do, so you know, this is for them. Ooh. Okay. I have to, wow. So I have to admit, I have never had a 0.05 pen that flowed as well as this does. Wow. All right, let's see. It's like no skip, all right? No smudge, all right. So for the small ones, it's kind of easy, right? Now it is, as I go faster, it is kind of losing its ink. So you can't, with this little one, you can't go too, you can go fairly fast. Like that was pretty fast, but you can't go too fast. Otherwise the ink can't catch up, just due to the fact that it's such a thin barrel for the ink to come out of. But this is probably my, as of right now, in my 20 plus year career of using micron pens and fine liners and stuff like that, this pen, this 0.05 is the best 0.05 I've ever used. Wow. All right, moving on to a 0.1. Yep, I mean, it stays very consistent. The flow's nice, right? It goes all the way, doesn't smear. Right, I guess we could sign stuff. Right, holds really well, ink is good. Okay, 0.1, it's holding up. I've had good flow on 0.1s and 2, so very impressed by the 0.05. I mean, let's see if we do these. So this is the 0.2. Flow is absolutely fantastic. Look at that. Just complete flow. No real skips, no nothing. Dries, I mean, if you mess with it before, you gotta give it a second to dry, right? But then it doesn't smear, doesn't smudge. It's a nice size. I like the fact that there is a 0.2, right? It gives you a lot of, we're getting a lot of variety as far as the width of the actual pen. So it's kind of cool that you can actually get this different variety instantly, so you can instantly start doing line weight. And I think that is going to be very helpful to most students when you're trying to figure out line weight, especially if you're using like a 0.1. You can jump to a 0.3 and be like, oh, it's now thicker, right? So you can push your line weight just a little easier without having to actually consciously go, oh, I need to make this thicker. You can just go up in weight, and these are giving you a very nice, even, consistent movement, flow, color, everything. And then it jumps, right? 0.3, 0.5. Now this is normally my bread and butter. This is the size that I like using. So this is nice. Super nice. Flow is fantastic. Wow. Wow. Alright. Alright, I can only assume, oh wait, that's a chisel. I can only assume the 0.8 is going to be just as good. Yeah. So the fine liners from Kingart have been absolutely fantastic. I mean, this is great. If you are like me and you're trying to do like comics or anime or manga, this 0.5 and 0.8 alone is worth the money. All right, and then let's see. So then we go into this mini brush. Right, so this brush is actually really firm, It's not a floppy brush, which is really what allows you to get these little itty bitty marks. Look at those marks. All right, these little itty bitty marks that you can get with this brush, but you can also go thick, right, if you need to, and get those nice swooping feathering marks with this little, and then, you know, with a little brush, and then it snaps back. So you can still come back and do these little itty bitty brush marks. It's an interesting brush. Not necessarily one that I would want to use because I'd be afraid of breaking it. Because it is, look at that. It's really thin, right? It's a really thin brush, but it's sturdy. So you can actually put some pressure against it. So that's interesting. And we're gonna go to the rest of them. So this is a medium brush. Okay, so that looks more like a, well, it's not necessarily a medium brush, but it is a medium, right? And so we're gonna see just, oh, this one seems a bit dry. All right, so sometimes, you know, when you get something that happens, right? You'll get something and it's kind of DOA, dead on arrival, right? So you can't actually use it as well. But what this seems to be is like you really need to push down on it to get the ink to come out, but it's still not as, it doesn't have as good a flow. So I think that there's something with this particular pen. You might need to work it a little bit and it'll start working again, but it always fades out towards the end. Unlike everything else, this one fades out towards the end. So I really am thinking that this is like a manufacturing issue, right? And that's why it's not working like all the rest of them. But as far as the brush itself, or the medium, it's a flex brush, right? So it's a very sturdy brush, but it allows you to kind of go from thick to thin, so you can actually, you know, get some of that feathering. But it's, you know, it's like I said, it's a little bit fading, but as I started working it, at least at the very beginning, the black gets really thick. But this one, like I said, I want to believe that it's just a manufacturing error and this is just a bum pen, but we'll see when we get to the large one, which is the one we showed before, which is this really big fat brush, right? Yeah, okay, so this one right here, there's something wrong with this particular pen. Because the large one, the next one up, is just it just super flows. Look at that. All right, this is a great set. All right, you can still go from thick, and then you can tilt it towards the top and get some really thin lines as well. Now, the thing about this one, because the body of it is so thick, right, it seems sturdy, but if you start playing around with the tip actually bends, so it's not as firm as the little one. But this one is definitely meant for you to kind of go from the side, right, and do your inking from the side. But this one's fantastic. This large is actually fantastic. It's a good pen. All right, and the last one we have here is the chisel. We'll see how that one works. Also very nice flow, right? Very nice, stays consistent all the way to the end. Then you can go to the smaller line. I mean, you can make the lines, but the ink is definitely not liking the edge like that. So if you do the tip, right, if you try and catch the tips and draw with it, it doesn't really work, right? Like some other chisels. But if you get right on the tip of it, you can actually do thin lines like that, right? Just not the points. You can't do the edges. But the side, I mean, it flows fantastic though, right? So you can get some decent smaller lines, but then that is just, the coverage on that, the ink flow is really, really nice. It dries insanely quick. Wow. Okay, look at that. That is nice. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead. We're just gonna make this line. We're gonna go right 0.5, which is one of the bigger inks. Then we're gonna go to this. We're gonna go to the brush, which lays down a lot more ink. And then we're gonna do this chisel, right, which lays down the most ink. Do that, and we're gonna grab some markers real quick, just some random ones that I have laying around. And okay, so I got 3 separate types of markers. We're gonna try the touch marker. This should be nice and dry now. And so one of the big things that I've realized when it comes to fine liners, especially in my line of work, is that it doesn't want to interact well with markers, right? And so you ink everything, and then you come in, you try and marker, you try and put the color in, you're like, ooh, let me add in my color, and then you get to the black and it smears out, and it's horrible, right? So we're gonna do the marker test. We're just gonna put some marker over top of it and see if it actually bleeds out. And generally, what I've realized is when you use bright colors, you know, or saturated colors like that, that's when it pulls out the most. So that's why we're trying these colors specifically. Got some light colors, some dark colors. All right, let's see. I mean, doesn't this, so here, like the touch marker here is pulling up some of the ink on the brush and the chisel, but not the 08. So the fine liner inking line, nothing. There's nothing being pulled up from that. But from the other ones, it's like it gets pulled here in the touch marker, a little bit for this one in the Olo marker, and the other ones are pretty safe, which is the ink and the Ohuhu markers. But for the most part, if you're gonna use a fine liner, every marker is fine. It doesn't bleed on any of that. When there's a lot more, you're gonna wanna test them, or you're gonna use the brush after the fact. So these seem pretty good, All right, so we just got done reviewing the Kingart 10-pack fine liners that was purchased at Michael's, and you know what? These were really good. I mean, outside of that one, the medium brush that had some issues towards the end, like the ink wasn't flowing all the way, this was I gotta admit, it's a pretty perfect pack. The ink flow was fantastic, the coverage was nice, there was no bleeding. It was just an all-round fantastic set of pens, and you can pick them up at Marshall's and TJ Maxx. Look for these Kingart markers. I cannot tell you enough that Kingart has been making fantastic product. Every single time that I go and grab a Kingart product, when I see a new one that's out, it doesn't matter which one it is, they are fantastic. So you know what? Here's my stamp of approval. Go and get Kingart product. These pen sets were fantastic. They're absolutely worth the $12.95 that I paid for it. You should, if you are looking to ink your work traditionally, without like a dip brush, and you're looking for a pen or a brush pen, grab this set. They're absolutely fantastic. Well, that wraps up today's episode. I hope that you learned something from it, and that, you know, maybe you were going to go out and purchase a new set of art tools. Now, if you would like to suggest any type of material for me to test out, please go ahead and drop it in the comments below, and I will add it to the list. If you are new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell so that you get notified every single time that I drop new content. Thank you all so very much, and I will see you at the next episode.